I hope I got my pronunciation correct. David McCuan, Professor and Chair of Political Science at Sonoma State University. He joins us live from Tamales, California. Good to have you on, David. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that the laws and the Constitution of the United States allow a president to go on a trip that's being funded by US taxpayers when it seems as though he's just pursuing personal business interests, making money for himself, using the office of the President of the United States, because that's how this is being portrayed, as its business trip to his golf courses, but with the possibility of some trade talk. So how do you view this? Is this a business trip or is it a presidential trip?
All right. So there are laws that prohibit this kind of mixing of business and office that go on. But Donald Trump pushes the bounds, just like he does in many other areas. It does look a lot like business. He's certainly setting things up before returning to the UK in September. And there's a lot going on, not just in Gaza, but events in the Middle East, moreover. And you look at what the domestic political situation is for Donald Trump, the controversy over the Epstein files and where that happens. But this coming month of August, and these next kind of 4 or 5 weeks will tell us a lot about their ability to conduct the nation's foreign policy, domestic policy, where they head next in the wake of the passage of that big, beautiful bill, and where they go in terms of their own kind of pointing fingers and moving the United States in terms of economics, because they're really worried about what's happening in the economic situation in the United States. They don't want that to turn. You've got this lower approval rating, all of these things going on. On the side, though, it certainly looks like a big business trip with a lot of golf outings and a lot of business being done on behalf of the United States on those golf courses, a mix of both, as you talked about there in the lead-in.
Now, we know that Trump already has a trip to the UK scheduled coming up in September, where he will be meeting with King Charles. So the timing of this visit, I don't know how long this has been on the books. Maybe it's been there for a long time or not, but critics will say it looks like he's running away from the Epstein scandal. Is he running, or is this just fortunate timing on his behalf to get out of the media glare in the US?
All right. You always want to get out of Washington, D.C. In the July, August, and the summer period. And you take the opportunity to do that typically around this time. But the timing is certainly suspicious. It's important. It allows the president to skirt the domestic press, the U.S. press, but the international press is going to press hard. And as you saw with the lead-in on the protests and what's going on, there's going to be a series of very active, visible protests that will follow the president throughout this trip. He'll come back to Washington. They'll hope that some of the steam and the storm has blown over on the Epstein scandal. That is not likely to be the case. It's going to be very difficult. And back in August 2010, Republicans retook the House that particular midterm election in November, but they talked about death panels and Obamacare. And Democrats are going to talk a lot about the Epstein scandal. So in some ways, it's a parallel to 2010 and what was going on, reverse parties in that regard. But there are also a number of Republicans are going to continue to push. So this scandal weighs over everything that Donald Trump does while he's trying to get business done. And remember, we're pushing to that August 1st date for the EU, UK, and other countries when you only have 5 nations that have been done so far in terms of a tariff deal.
And only because I feel like he's invited this criticism now by going to visit golf courses that he owns and to open another one. The Trump family wealth has been widely reported. Numerous high-profile publications suggest that the wealth of his family has increased by around $3 billion since he took office. Now, that looks to the outside like he's using the presidency to enrich himself and his family members, and now he's opening up new golf courses while the US taxpayers foot the bill for that. How is this being allowed to happen?
Well, Republicans control Congress, so the ability to push what's called the emollients clause, the ability, particularly in the Senate, to push forward this mixing of growing your personal portfolio, growing the family business, not placing it in a blind trust, for example, and using the influence of both domestic and foreign governments and domestic and foreign companies and officials to essentially build your own wealth portfolio. That won't move very far in terms of any movement against the emoluments clause or to take this up in the U.S. Senate. In the U.S. House, Republicans control that area as well, and so therefore there's been no push. Now, this has affected overall with what's been going on his popularity in the United States. So Gallup has reported this, others have reported this, and even his strength, his big category of immigration, mixing immigration with crime, approval on that area has come down, not amongst Republicans, but amongst independents, while Democrats have remained low. It's that movement of the purple people, those independent voters in the United States. That's the coalition that Donald Trump put together to get him elected in 2024. He's not holding that coalition right now, headed into the long, hot summer of D.C., headed into the end of the fiscal year for the United States, which ends on September 30th. Some interesting things to watch here over the next 2 months.
David, really appreciated you coming on and giving us your expert analysis. David McCuan, Chair of Political Science at Sonoma State University. Thank you.
Thank you very much.